The classic definition of cheese is a strategy that is easy to counter if scouted and hard to counter if not scouted, or, if you prefer, a simple, cheap strategy that is also full of holes. This is the second time I am meeting a platinum while playing ranked. It is also the second time I'm getting cheesed by one. So obviously, this guy opens with a second scout, as you do in platinum. He then follows with a fairly standard strategy, opening up with the Abbey of Kings and sending his king to harass. After failing to take out my scout and any of my villagers, the king settles for wailing on a random building for the time being. As Red is about ready to advance the castle, he breaks from the standard and instead sends 18 villagers forward. Here is where the cheese hits. He uses his king to bait the rear of my base as his villagers move forward to build. Unfortunately for him, he sends his villagers too far forward, which then gets spotted by my own. In response, I build an outpost expecting some kind of a rush, but not having the accumulated wisdom to know the type of it. Here is our live reaction to what happens.
Ir mes jau toks karalius.
Jo, mirs nuo teisyrno mano.
Durnius koksai.
Užmiršo karalių. Ką čia tie workeriai veikia?
Aš pala žudysiu. Mano 3 lankai eina.
Ar nebando manęs rašinti kartais?
O, jo. Ai, dar tai čia, okei.
Jo?
O, stato, keep. Pushim.
Su kuo išpušinti?
Įlip į tą. Fucking žiūrkės. Fucking žiūrkės, tokios žiūrkės. Bet tai pala, reiškia, kur mano tas... Tai man arčeriai. Tai jie gali apeit tą keep. Lygtai.
Jo, gali apeit.
Tokios žiūrkės negaliu.
What the hell? Turėjo būti šitas iš karto. Man galas. Neturiu ką daryti su šito.
Šugas.
Unfortunately, the range of an outpost is only half of its vision. Garrisoning it was pointless, and the call to attack cost me 2 villagers. In the same attack, the opponent only lost 1 thanks to allied longbows. The thing about keeps is that they enforce a strong presence in the area. Every building in range of artillery, which are protected by the keep, is basically within the enemy kill zone. With the treb spanning on my base, neither of us can think of a proper counter for this on the spot. On one hand, abandoning the base is heavily discouraged by the fact that landmarks cannot be moved. What further complicates things is that the Japanese must build their farms around their exceptionally expensive TC. On the other hand, fighting this doesn't seem possible in the moment. A keep of a full garrison can slaughter around 40 men-at-arms, to say nothing about a landmark one. If the trebs stay in the White Tower's range, there's hardly anything my paltry barracks can do. And with him in the castle age, it's only a matter of time until I get pushed off men-at-arms and crossbows. In my mind, the only way to deal with this is to advance the castle myself while keeping the TC alive, the combination of which ends up eating most of my resources. And naturally, I'm building the landmark a hair out of treb range, truly a genius without equal. I should have built it in Trajan's base instead. Once I do advance the castle, trying to make most of my resources, I start making samurai. Unfortunately, I realize that my opponent has made crossbows to cover his trebs as they push out of range of the White Tower. With them added to the mix, I decide to start abandoning my base. While I keep the farmers working a while longer, my other villagers go gather wood and stone in safer locations. In the principle of dying slowly to secure an opportunity for a turnaround, I continue making samurai and 2 mangonels. In a moment of brilliance, I send the mangonels against the crossbows, 1 by 1 and with no meat shield. While this did a surprising amount of damage, it wasn't nearly enough, as more crossbows kept coming. Having gathered enough stone for a decent TC, I moved to build it in a relatively open spot for all the theoretical farms that I will never end up making. A hidden TC would have gone a long way. Making villages is more important than the upper limit on farms, as at this point, team-wise, we are down 9 villages compared to our opponents. Since I'm fighting mostly siege and crossbows, the natural solution is to make horsemen. Even though I end up losing my new TC, I still managed to clean up the invasion. For now. Going back a little, on the other side of the map, Trajan is doing good work. First he was attacked and managed to survive. Second, he met his opponent midway and they both tied. Third, he attacked and had so much success that he even built his own white tower in the opponent's base for karmic balance. A loss, a tie, and a victory. His side basically embodies the classic rule of 3. Confusingly, he wrecked Blue's TC using torches rather than siege. I wouldn't recommend doing this, not with these low numbers. That's what, 9 infantry throwing torches? The TC has 7,000 health. This takes ages. In those 97 seconds, the Burgrave Palace over there can make 21 men-at-arms. At 5,000 health, and with the keep lurking in the background, taking it down isn't easy either. That time could have been better spent to knock down more regular military production buildings that only have 1,500 health, or houses that have a mere 750. A pop-capped opponent with reduced potential for reinforcements is better than one that simply can't continue making villagers. Villagers are a long-term problem. While the less military the opponent has, the less damage you'll sustain and the more your forces can snowball, increasing the odds of victory right now. Even in the long term, it's better to snipe villagers that are already out on the field than to focus on the TC. Each villager killed sets the TC back 20 seconds, and you can kill a dozen in a good raid. Regardless, due to Trajan's success against Blue, Red decided to hit him from behind to force him back to his base. However, I managed to clean that push up, so the invasion went back to normal. Sadly, it didn't exactly go well from there. Trajan had left half of his units in the White Tower, while the other half were acting way too passive for my liking. Since the White Tower had raised him up to Castle Age, he should have popped out a treb of his own, but he merely took down the TC and a few nearby buildings. When Red arrived to reinforce with 11 men-at-arms, Trajan backed off, rather than taking the fight even though he had 12 men-at-arms, 3 horsemen, 7 spearmen, 11 longbowmen, and the White Tower. This allowed their opponents to build up 7 rams, tear down the White Tower just as my reinforcements entered the field, and push all the way back to Trajan's base, where he surrendered. So what could have been done to avoid the final pushback? More aggression in the enemy base, walls to delay the counter-push, and lastly, some archers from my side. Despite the fact that we had all entered Castle Age, I was still only using horsemen, while Red started to mix in spears and Blue men-at-arms. A few archery ranges would have gone a long way. Looking at the village accounts, throughout the match I was doing quite well, up until my TC got wrecked. Even then, the other players haven't gone all that much higher. I would have expected a Platinum to do better than that, so I checked this guy's match history and it turns out that he's been doing nothing but this since the season started, apparently trying to pad his gold to do 50% win rate to Platinum for the memorabilia. Out of the 10 games he had played this patch, he lost 4 of them. So how did they deal with this disgusting cheese? In the first game, his villagers ran right past the Knight Templar's outpost and got cut down to 4 by the time they completed the White Tower. This left only a light garrison, which made it open to rams. In the second game, his opponent did a much better version of what I tried to do, which was to abandon his base and make a new one under the protection of his ally. In the third game, he ran into longbows that nibbled his trebs down before they could serve their purpose, all the while staying out of the White Tower's range. In theory, something similar would also work of horsemen and even scouts. Both of them deal high bonus damage against siege, and no matter how much damage the White Tower can dish out, it can only fire at a single target every 2.5 seconds. In the fourth game, his opponent refused to give ground and even boldly rebuilt right in front of the trebs. Meanwhile, his ally sent out lancers to take out this guy's food and gold. As he had spent pretty much everything on the trebs, he had no way to deal with the raids and folded. So, in conclusion, here are the weaknesses of this cheese. 1. Scouting the transfer of villagers at around 7 minutes, which is the rough timing of a regular fast castle. 2. Abandoning the cheesed area. 3. Archers or cavalry sniping the trebs. 4. Counterattacks against the defenseless home base. You guys better be Europeans, because lactose intolerance is rampant in Asia.